Warning. The following may contain concepts, ideas, and/or reflections unique in nature and not yet approved by government and/or corporate entities. This content is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended to stimulate further reflection or to perpetuate additional discourse beyond the scope already outlined by institutional curriculum.
Yeah, get all those coughs out, man. Okay, so today what we're going to be discussing is going to be just
mind blowing.
I'm kind of like paranoid about the audio now. I'm just hoping that it doesn't crap out. Anywho, the point is what we're going to be talking about today is discussing alternatives to the current system that we have, the current system of governance, because it's always very easy to tear down, ridicule, insult, some of my favorite pastimes, but it's a little bit more difficult to actually come up with possible solutions. So we're going to be discussing that today. I don't know exactly how it's going to be called, but you're going to see it in the title. Let's go. All right, dude. Well, take it away.
Well, it all began many, many millions of years ago when we slammed out of that primordial swamp. And we took a little bit of a different path than some of the other creatures. What?
Side, man. Holding on the side. Puff. You're puffing like Puff the Magic.
Puff Daddy.
No, but like, yeah, there. Anyway,
all right,
whatever.
man.
Okay.
But you kind of put me on the spot a little bit because...
Of course I did. I was trying to throw you under the bus. How did it feel?
Well, a little overbearing, of course, because bus weighs many, many tons, and
all right, I think you can shut up.
I don't have the body to support that kind of weight.
Okay, so let's just say, what system do we have today? And I mean, we could use a template of like Plato's. You got something to say now?
Well,
is some neurons have suddenly awakened?
I thought I'd throw a joke in there and say a shitocracy, but obviously it wasn't that funny.
Ba-dum-bum. Okay, so we could use Plato's Republic as a bit of a template. I mean, of course, some of the ideas that this guy had was kind of out there. I mean, he did believe in kind of like sort of a collective society where the elite in society get to basically have sex with whoever they want as a reward. And basically you create like a lottery system that would exclude the undesirables. So they would think that they got a chance. So you're saying there's a chance.
But they also created the Greek gods and...
Sure.
So...
Right.
You could see where they're...
Anyways, I just want to say what I'm saying about Plato is not like I'm like one of his dactyls where I think that everything he had to say was genius or should be taken fully. But at the same time, he did have interesting perspectives on democracy, tyrannies, the republic, monarchs.
He was an idealist, which I think when you have a population globally of 100 million people, you could be kind of optimistic like that. I think what he was doing, in a way, is he was an idealist, and you could ideally say that if you really did have the best, most capable people running things,
yeah,
it would be functional.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's a concept to throw out. If everybody is decent, then you don't need a political system, okay? Because technically, I mean, every system has its merits. A monarch has its merits. A communism has its merits. Even utter supreme dictatorship has its merits if the dictator was someone who was completely altruistic and intelligent and like had no fallacies. So the entire idea of a political structure is to try to mitigate the sin of man, so to speak, and limit its damages.
Okay, about 5 seconds ago, I had a meritocracy has its merits, but that time had passed. I just wanted y'all to know that.
Okay.
I thought it was kind of funny.
But
this is what happens when, you know,
you wait.
we're not really in sync, and I do wait my turn.
Well, are you trying to make me feel guilty or something? Anyways, I'm trying to get on track here.
Sure.
So the point is that democracy doesn't work. Everyone should realize this by now, that democracy is a complete and utter fraud. Even if democracy does work in its best form, and Plato kind of speaks to this, and I've thought about this already, is that the thing about the majority is that you're not putting exceptionalism on a pedestal. So what you end up getting is people end up liking mediocre things because that's what the majority identify with, right? And
you don't want to make the majority feel bad about themselves, make them feel inadequate and all that.
Right. And so then you got these people that are, in a sense, if you look at politicians, right, what will they say? Someone that's too smart isn't going to get elected, right? Because his points are too lucid. He speaks too succinctly. And the average person doesn't really understand. Or they're not really, or they don't trust him because there's a innate part in human nature that if someone is like many tiers smarter than you are, innately you go, I don't know if this guy wants to dupe me. How am I what tools do I have, right? But if you can come across as being a simpleton, like George W., right? You can easily be like, hey, I'm your buddy. I'm your friend. We got evildoers. We got to get in there, right? And behind the scenes, you know, he's not really that country bumpkin, but it helps to gain the trust of the mass of humanity for sure.
Well, you know, slowing down your speech just a little bit and kind of like sounding like it just emits friendliness.
Yeah.
You don't want to be talking fast and abrupt, and that's, you know, confrontational. But, you know, you want to soothe them. You want to appeal to them and just reach out and touch them with.
Like, it's much better to be called an idiot than to be called an arrogant prick. If you're thinking from democracy standpoint, an idiot has way more opportunity to become the leader of the free world than a guy that's called an arrogant prick, because people's trust in that person goes way down. So there's a lot and that's just if you actually have a functioning democracy, you get mediocrity. And then that's not even including the type of corruption and oligarchs that will penetrate that system and pull the strings from behind a curtain, which obviously is what we have today. I mean, it's not actual democracy.
Well, how many times do you, if you poll people over the last 40, 50 years, and you ask them, would you like to see zero immigration into your country, or maybe just small amounts? They would say, yeah. The majority would say, yeah, we do not want any more immigration.
Well, this even goes.
But the elites that run the so-called democracies, they say, well, we know what's better for you. And it doesn't matter whether it's the education curriculum or whatever.
Yeah, and this even goes back to even where rich people are bringing in cheaper Welsh labor, cheaper Irish labor, cheaper Scots labor into London. And yeah, if the Londoner was like, hey, do you want to get paid less money because we bring all these people in so that your job as a factory worker or as a construction worker is halved? They would probably go, no, that doesn't sound good. So who was the driving force? The little people pulling the strings, right? And you could say that that was a parliamentary monarchy, so it wasn't really a democracy. But you know what? There's always going to be, you're always going to have someone creeping in. Democracies inherently, and this is what Plato said as well, is that they create a ripe atmosphere for tyranny, because it creates, it's like honey, bees to honey in the sense or flies to shit, where people look at the opportunity that a democracy gives, right? It's if you're honest, leading a democracy is a thankless job. Scamming the masses is basically what you're attracting. So you're attracting a tyrannical individual to be the leader of this democratic system. And so this is a part of the problem today of what we have is we have not a real democracy, because a real democracy quickly collapses. And the fact that it was as old an idea of a system being led by the people is kind of phenomenal, because it's not like if it was that successful of a political idea or an ideology, why didn't we see it crop up more often than just in
why in presidential debates or other forms of campaigning are they always appealing to the smallest little minority that they're going to be represented, when you would think in a democracy it would be to represent the greatest common denominator?
Well, that's modern. That's the modern form. But the thing is you can always shuffle your ideology. The thing about groupthink too is that if you're controlling the narrative, you can switch people on and off. Everybody thinks that they're holding on to their what they believe in. I've seen people flip-flop so much. As long as who they respect change that narrative. 10 years ago in Canada, everything was pro-Chinese, basically. I mean, as far as in the mainstream, I can't think of one politician that ever would have said something bad, or even the idea of saying that, like, oh, the rise of China is scary would be crazy. Because, like, there's almost maybe 400,000, 500,000 Chinese people in Vancouver that have helped invest and prop up that entire city and inflate that real estate. So it would be kind of a crazy notion. They would send people to Beijing and Shanghai to entice them to make investments in Canada, right? So this happened like for such a long amount of time, and then suddenly they did an about face. They said, "Oh, China's rise is worrisome." And man, it's amazing how many Canadians just basically parroted that thing. The same Canadians who wouldn't have been concerned at all about China or the rise of China, as soon as the politicians do an about face, they all jump on board. Sheep. Meh.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess I've stunned you into silence today.
Well, yeah, I mean, pretty much. No, there's got to be like a little time for me to slip in an interjection, but I haven't found it yet.
Okay. So, well, maybe if I start laying down what I think would be an alternative to democracy,
sure,
it might ignite some fervor within the bowels of your mind. So, okay, so I think that feudalism has a bad rap. a lot of people talk about feudalism as being a bad time in our day and age, that heading towards feudalism is actually a bad thing. But I think feudalism
has its merits.
Maybe it's a better template, or the template of feudalism has more checks and balances in it than people might think.
Why don't you explain?
Well, for one thing, the Magna Carta was basically, like, as some historians have said, it was really there for landowners, and most landowners were lords. So it wasn't actually giving everybody these rights, or a template for rights. It was more giving petty lords and minor landowners a set of rights that they would have against the king or the crown. And but even in the past, remember, in America's early history, only landowners had the right to vote.
Okay, now speed forward to today then. How would a feudal system be better than what we have now?
Well, it sounds like, okay, landowners get the right to vote. They get all the power. It sounds like would have, like, basically just a system of landlords lording it over their tenants, right? I think there's one really important aspect to historical feudalism that was fair, and that was that landowners were the ones that had the responsibility for defending the nation. Non-landowners didn't, right? So when the king said, we're under attack, he didn't require the serfs and freeholders to pick up their, like, scythes and go out, because they weren't trained soldiers. Trained soldiers were petty lords, landowners. So when there was a conscription, so think about this in comparison to today. When there was a conscription, all of your richest people and all of your landowners would be the people expected to fight.
Well, since it really technically was theirs, it would stand to reason that they would be the ones protecting it, not the peasants who were simply
who don't own the thing, right? Like, you're requiring people to fight for something that they don't even hold, right? So in a sense, it was a lot more logical of a system, because when England would go to war with France, it was until they started implementing these career soldiers, and that's where the corruption starts. But that's actually moving away from then feudalism into the more mercantile, and then eventually into, like, the full-blown empire, democracy, whatever you want, parliamentary monarch that you want to call it today. But when it was in its feudal days, when they went to war with France, the people required were all the lords and maybe the lord's servants or stewards, people that were
none of the
involved.
ladies got involved.
No, they stayed home. But the point is that those are the people that should be fighting. If they win territory, they're going to be awarded that territory. And it wasn't like nobody was allowed to join the military who wasn't a landowner, but it was for a lot of people, they wanted to get in there, because if you were successful in the army, you were going to be rewarded with maybe lordship or title or land or something, right? Now we have people that are going to war and basically getting a salary, a basic salary in some cases for it. And that's a completely unjust system.
Colonels and up, they have a different pay package.
Right. And so, I mean, the other thing, I mean, Plato talks about the merits of a monarchy. I believe that a monarchy is the superior system, although I would add the caveat that we don't have to have this bloodline descending monarch system. For example, the Irish would have a system of the smaller kingdoms, right? So each county would basically be its own kingdom pretty much. And it was like a high king was not necessary unless there was some existential threat to the entire island of Ireland, or there was something that everyone needed to band together to do. And then it was like almost like a democracy of the kings. So the kings would go, who's best to lead us into battle, and they would select the high king. So kind of like a form of almost like your representative is then democratically choosing a high leader.
Well, I'm just kind of trying to picture how a feudalism system would work today, since this is a pre-industrial period, and it might appeal to people who are agrarian inclined. Agrarian inclined.
Well,
Yeah, I
okay.
think that sounds okay.
So dig this, right?
All right.
And this is kind of why it's going off of our video yesterday, which was talk about corporations, right? A key component to bringing a better system is getting rid of corporations and this idea of a corporation being a legal entity, right? The reality is that you're always going to have people that are rich and people that are poor. And there's even communism wasn't able to eradicate disparity of position. And maybe they weren't wealthy, so to speak, but their position could give them access to
Plenty of caviar and vodka.
Yeah, and the palatial estates or whatever else, right? So the point is that you cannot make all men equal. And in some ways, do you want to make all men equal? Because making everyone equal is actually a very tyrannical notion. Just like if you paid everybody the same amount, but I'm working 60 hours a week and this guy is working 10 hours a week, that's not equality now.
Or you're producing twice what he's producing, but you're only maybe seeing $1 difference in wage, which would only amount to $8 in an 8-hour shift. So
when we watch sports, we all expect in competitive sports there to be people that are exceptional, and we treat them as such, right? We're expecting them to rise to the top, and we're expecting them to be awarded more than the bottom tier, which is why the elite athletes get paid this X amount of dollars, and your low athletes get paid almost
and we
nothing.
expect them to acquire nice little trophy wives, and they could produce nice little trophy kids.
Yeah, I guess that would be good.
Good for them. But we have something to admire then.
Okay, but here's the thing, right?
We have this inclination to want to admire something. So
the point is that what you need is for the best functioning society, you need a meritocracy. So in Plato's Republic, like he said, the monarchy is incentivizing exceptionalism in a sense, right? Because what you're doing is you're putting a guy on a pedestal, right? And you're going to lead us. You're going to manage everything. And if our nation's failing, we're basically holding you responsible for that, right? There is a bit of a check and balance, even if you have an ultimate monarch, there's a check and balance because that guy's face is everywhere. It's literally on every coin. He's not hiding, right? And if people are starving, they have a target. Right now, who could you in our democracy, who could you pick out and go, let's just take this guy's head off and everything's going to go back to normal?
No, if something goes wrong, you got to find a little pissant to use as a scapegoat.
There's a million.
Plenty of examples of that.
It's a hydra. You cut off one head and 3 more are going to come in its place. I mean, you can't stamp it out because the system inherently doesn't work. It doesn't facilitate the social contract because who the fuck is signing the contract? You need to know the person that you're dealing with. Monarchs and lords, you know who they are, right? They are, for a lord to be a lord, He's the landowner. He's the person that all the serfs, they know who he is. They know what he looks like. He's the guy that they pay their taxes to every year, right? And so anything that happens in his little domain that is tyrannical, he's the one responsible. Even if it's some other jackass who's pulling the strings behind him, people are going to hold him responsible. There's a check and balance to it.
Okay, so I think we got the message on that. Is there any other systems besides feudalism that you think are worthy of looking at?
Well,
how about a truly based scientific, not, you could call it a technocracy to an extent.
But you could warp the science with with false data. I mean, the thing is you have to find a system where you can eliminate lies. One of the things about the other thing about the feudal system, where the warriors were the ones that were the landowners, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that it was a meritocracy in the sense that if you were an incompetent liar, eventually your country goes to war, and eventually you're going to have to suit up, and everyone's going to see you for the incompetent jackass that you truly are.
Yeah, especially if you're leading the charge. Oh,
Yeah.
there he goes.
No, but there's been cases of kings that have, suddenly now, the neighboring country realizes that this boy king, this petulant little boy king is in charge, and they invade, and, yes, he's absolute monarch in his dominion, but he gets destroyed. And once there's like an existential threat like that, they find a replacement pretty quick.
Well, they'd have to.
And so it's kind of like it's proving by fire, right? So I think that in some ways, yes, the best system, you have to take the people that are sacrificing the most, because we look at lords right now and go, yeah, elitist pricks and everything, because they're descendants of warriors, or what once was a warrior. But generation after generation of just drinking Dom Perignon and having soirees and everything has made them weak milquetoast, right? But in its origins, when those people were warriors, when they were fighting their own battles, it seems kind of proper that they ended up inheriting the land and managing the land, because they had fought for it. They'd shown bravery. They shown chivalry. They had shown attributes that had proven that they were at least had some positive characteristics that would make a good leader.
They tested their mettle.
Right. Now what we have in democracy, the best form of a proof by fire is how good of a liar you are, right? Because as far as I can see, the system right now, whether it's in the corporate world or whether it's in the political sphere, lying and the skill to lie is the highest skill set that you can have and acquire.
Well,
and
you can almost say that we're induced to cheer on the liar in a lot of these so-called funny comedy movies, where the scoundrel is a bit of a liar and lies in many different ways.
Yeah. No, I mean, for sure. It's not only that, I mean, there's plenty of propaganda of basically, there's not too many proletariat blue collar workers that are heroes in most modern movies, especially because first off, these people they're completely disconnected from the bottom end of society. So how the hell is Hollywood going to make a movie about some simple person working a blue collar job and it actually be lucid and in touch with reality?
I have a requirement. I think this would be a test, is that they go through various forms of denial. No wage, no salary for the highest positions of leadership, and you get to fast, periodically. Deny yourself alcohol, and no lines of coke.
Well, you know,
and just that kind of testing of someone who's not given over to his own self indulgences, I think would be a good requirement.
Are you talking about rehab in Hollywood?
No, I mean, I think of even sometimes you see these stories of these Roman soldiers that actually, in a sense, were never stationed in Rome, but they would be out there farming the land when they weren't on military conquest. And in some cases, there was this one story, I don't know how true it is, but he really didn't want to be leading Rome. And it was because of that.
You talk about the gladiator?
No, I think that was really based on an actual person, a legend, a farmer.
Maximus Decimus Aurelius.
That's why it must be you, Maximus. But these
husband
people,
to a murdered wife.
No, these people.
Father to a murdered son.
And
I will have my revenge in this life or the next.
Very good. Well done.
Maximus.
Okay, so anyways, I think these people are out there. It's just that when you've been led into hedonism as a society, as a globe, it's pretty hard. Those people are going to be few and far between. And it could be that what needs to happen is an absolute total collapse of this entire, I was going to say, shitty system, but that would be kind of like underscoring it.
Right. So you said before, how would I say feudalism would work today, right?
Sure.
Okay, so for example, when we send people into the Middle East to fight for America, we'd be sending Ben Bernanke, Elon Musk, all these people that are heading the ideas, Bill Gates, Bill Clinton even too.
I think this could be a reality show of monumental proportion.
No, but see, for me, this would cleanse the entire idea of these people being in charge. If I saw them with, like, you know, in the battle fatigues.
Who's that other piece of shit from North Carolina that he just loves war?
Oh, come on, get some artillery shells. We're dying over here. You got Bill Gates trying to
his decadent face is in my head, but I can't draw his name.
You got Bill Gates trying to shove the intestines into Larry Ellison's body after he just got hit with a 50 caliber round. To me, you know what? That was
Graham. There you go. Oh, yeah. I was on search mode. Anyways, go on.
Well, anyways, point is that to me cleanses the entire idea of these pricks being in charge,
right,
or their kids.
Or
people say,
opinion.
"Oh, they're too old." Well, send their kids. Let's see all these. Let's see the Clintons' daughters. I mean, equal opportunity and all that. Let's see them get all go through boot camp. Let's see them in the Marine Corps, right? To me,
see maybe Ivanka and Jared in
I think you're also going to see a lot more peaceful world when the richest power brokers on the planet have to do their own fighting for themselves. They can't hire a champion to fight for them. They have to defend their plot of land with muscle and brawn. And I think you're going to find that you get real peaceful real quick, because I can't imagine these pricks actually going to battle against anybody.
No.
I mean, we're talking about people that couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag, and they're gonna enter the battlefield. They're gonna go toe to toe with Russia. Not likely. So in that sense, because you have to look at the big picture. You can't look at the small things like, oh, well, how would this work if someone committed a crime and you had an absolute monarch and he could do what he wanted. He could behead someone. That's a tidbit. That's one scenario. You got to look at the macro when we're talking about a political structure or the structuring of all of society. I mean, there's 320 million Americans, right? We can't be looking at like one isolated event going, well, that didn't seem very just or that didn't seem very right. What's the macro? You need to get rid of macro injustice. Forget the
Micromanage.
The individual scenarios. This is how they lie, is because that you can pull out of your ass any scenario of something not working or something failing in some sort of fashion, but you just take out the person. When you're dealing with leadership of large nations, especially like we have today with such huge populations of people, to me, the rich need to fight their own wars, and you're going to get that with the feudal system, or at least the genuine feudal system of yore, which people, ridicule as being, tyrannical and elitist and everything like that. But take a look around today.
I still want to see this on a
elitist
reality show, because I think this is going to go global, and it's kind of ironic that we happen to be talking about this on a Tuesday. The God of War.
Well, yeah, maybe it just kind of subliminal, but
synchronistic.
Yeah, I mean,
serendipitous.
Hey, look, the thing is I don't think that there's too many people out there talking about bring back feudalism, but this is the thing about thinking outside of the typical paradigm, where you just basically lap up some talking points. You get 2 talking points if you're lucky. Choose your side and fight.
That's a sales pitch.
Screw that, man.
Door 1 or door 2. Monty Hall used to say it all the time.
Yeah, I'm not going to pick between socialism and capitalism. I'm not going to pick between those two. I think we need to bring back. I want a face associated with the leadership. I want an absolute monarch that I can point to and go, we've got a failing education system. That's your fault.
But we don't want to see any stunt double being thrown in at the last minute to face that opposing enemy.
It's amazing how the benefits of feudalism just keep on piling up. There's a final one, and that's a really big one, right?
The issuing of currency?
Treachery.
Oh, treachery.
The benefit of a feudal system is that, in a sense, you could say that the lord's power is not associated with their money, it's associated with their land. And English lords, their power came from the English land, which meant that their ability to just destroy Britain was not in their invested interest.
Right.
Because that was their property. That was their wealth generation. That land was... They were just as attached to it as the freeholders or the serfs were.
They could have been really wealthy on rainwater.
No, but the thing is that once we got away from that and turned into a mercantile, right? Now you've got multinational lords who have no attachment to the land or the people, right?
Right.
And see, this was the social construct or contract between the lord and his serfs was. That land, he was just attached to that land as the serfs were. They had an invested interest, both of them, for the prosperity of the land itself, the regional area, and the nation on a whole. And so the more that they all prospered together, they were all elevated. In a sense, it was actual trickle down economics in a sense, right? Today, we don't have that. Most British rich pricks don't give a flying fuck about Britain. Most of them are living in like Dubai or something, or anywhere else in the world where they can just purchase a citizenship or a passport, right? The $1 million passport, they just hand over some money. They couldn't care less about what the average British person is going through right now. So that's what you're getting with democracy. So fuck democracy. Anyways, I think we can leave it basically at that, unless you got something to add.
I'm not gonna try and second that.
You're not gonna. You don't want to jump on the fuck democracy bandwagon?
No, not.
I think we're gonna
me.
I think we're gonna need to get some shirts made up.
I don't want them dropping democracy bombs on me anytime soon.
Well, on the off
chance,
chance
they love spreading
on the off chance
loving democracy bombs.
Yeah, on the off chance that we do get some commenter commenters eventually. Let's see down in the comments if we got some alternative ideas for what a better society framework would look like. And
that's it. That's a wrap. Say goodbye.
Well,
Bye.
we do have a sponsor
Really?
for today's. Yes. It's one of, I think it was told to me that one of maybe the greatest novelists ever has graciously.
You mean an emerging artist
Yeah. Well.
that's come out of obscurity.
Yeah.
That was always
and
in
so down in the
obscurity.
description, there's going to be a link to his great debut novel. So if
And I hear
you
that
want-
there's another one in the works.
well,
We won't.
we
even-
don't. I mean, one could only wish. All right.
All right.
Later, guys.
Bye bye.